If you've ever woken up between 3 and 4 in the morning with your heart pounding for no reason, if you've noticed your blood pressure medicine doesn't work quite the same way it did 5 years ago, if someone in your family told you that drinking clove water at night will gently reset your body while you sleep, I want you to stay with me, because what I'm about to share is something I wish more people over 60 had heard before they ever poured that first cup. Before we go any further, two things you should know about me. I'm not a doctor, and nothing I share with you today replaces a conversation with yours. What I am is someone who reads the research carefully and refuses to pass along anything I wouldn't tell my own mother. Clove water has quietly become one of the most shared health tips on the internet for people in their 60s and 70s. A friend mentions it. Your sister sends you a video. Soon you're standing in your kitchen at 9 at night, wondering if you should try it. And almost every video you find tells you the same beautiful story. Cloves are ancient. Cloves are powerful. Cloves will support your sleep, your sugar, your heart, your joints. Most of that is partly true. I want to be honest with you about that part. There is real research behind cloves, and we'll look at some of it together. But the part those videos almost never mention is the one that matters most after 60. Your body, after 60, processes everything differently than it did at 40. Liver function slows down, blood vessels lose some elasticity, and usually more prescription medications are already at work in your bloodstream. Cloves are not a neutral cup of tea. They contain real compounds that interact with real prescriptions. 4 interactions in particular. We'll get to all 4. And if you stay until the end, I'll tell you about a woman named Dorothy, 66 years old, from Pennsylvania, who learned this the hard way. Her story is the reason I made this video the way I did. But first, the inside picture. What's actually happening in your body when those clove compounds reach your bloodstream after dark? Cloves contain a compound called eugenol. Most of what people credit cloves for traces back to this single oil. It's well studied, it's real. And in modest amounts it does several things. Eugenol calms certain inflammation pathways. The same pathways some over-the-counter pain relievers target. It mildly relaxes blood vessels, which is part of why people who drink clove water sometimes feel a warmth spreading through them. And it has a small but measurable effect on platelet function. That's a careful way of saying it can make your blood slightly less likely to clump together. For a 40-year-old in good health, none of that is a problem. The body adjusts. The dose is small. Life goes on. After 60, the picture changes. Many of us are already on something that does one of those same things. A blood pressure medication that relaxes vessels. A daily aspirin that thins the blood. A statin that affects how the liver processes compounds. A medication for blood sugar. When you add clove water at night, you're not introducing something into an empty cup. You're adding it to a cup that already has carefully measured medicine in it. And the body, especially at rest, especially overnight, when the liver is already busy processing the day's prescriptions, can sometimes feel that addition more than expected. In a moment, you'll meet Dorothy and see what the research actually says. But first, if any of this is making you pause, the kindest thing you can do is hit subscribe. It tells YouTube to show this to other folks over 60. Now back to what doctors quietly wish you knew. Dorothy is 66 years old. She lives in a quiet neighborhood outside Pittsburgh. Her name and details are a composite, but the situation is exactly what I've seen described in patient stories more times than I can count. Dorothy had been on a low-dose blood pressure medication for about 4 years. Lisinopril. Nothing dramatic. Her readings were good. She felt fine. Then her older sister, who watches a lot of health videos, told her about clove water. 2 whole cloves, Steep them in hot water for 15 minutes. Drink it right before bed. Her sister said it had changed her own sleep. Dorothy thought, what's the harm? It's just spice and water. For the first week, nothing much happened. She slept the same, maybe slightly better. By the second week, she started waking up in the morning feeling woozy when she stood up. By the third week, she had a dizzy spell while reaching up for a cup in her kitchen cabinet. She caught herself on the counter, but her heart was racing for several minutes afterward. That was the moment that scared her enough to call her doctor. Her blood pressure taken at the office came in at 98/62. For a woman of her age on her medication that was running on the low side. Her doctor asked the right questions. He went through her diet. He went through everything she'd been drinking. When she mentioned the clove water, he paused. He explained it carefully. The eugenol in cloves has a mild vessel-relaxing effect. Her blood pressure medication does the same thing. Together, especially overnight, the two of them were stacking. Her doctor didn't tell her to stop the clove water forever. He told her to space it out. Not at night, not within 2 hours of her medication, and to start with 1 clove, not 2. The dizziness went away within a week. But Dorothy told her sister something I want you to remember. The label called it a tea. Her body had treated it like a second medication. Dorothy's story isn't a fluke. There is research behind what her doctor told her, and I want to walk through one piece of it carefully. A 2024 study in the International Journal of Molecular Sciences looked at eugenol's effect on platelet aggregation in both laboratory and human samples. Platelet aggregation is just the medical word for how your blood cells clump together to form a clot. We need that process to work when we bleed. We need it not to overwork when we have plaque in our arteries. The researchers found that eugenol at concentrations realistic for moderate culinary use did mildly slow platelet aggregation. Not dramatically, not at the level of a daily aspirin, but measurably. That matters if you're on warfarin, aspirin, clopidogrel, or any of the newer blood thinners. Because what your prescription is already doing on purpose, the eugenol may be doing slightly more of on accident, and the effect is dose-dependent. 2 cloves occasionally with a meal is not going to tip anything. A nightly cup of strong clove infusion with blood thinners on board can. A separate 2024 study in the Saudi Pharmaceutical Journal also looked at eugenol and the cytochrome P450 enzyme system. That's the same system your liver uses to break down most prescription medications. The interaction wasn't strong, but it was real enough that the authors recommended caution in people taking multiple daily medications. These are not headlines. These are quiet findings in academic journals. The kind of thing your doctor reads in continuing education courses. The kind of thing the videos selling you on miracles never mention. And this brings us to something the videos teaching clove water leave out. How people are actually preparing this drink. Because the wrong way isn't dangerous in itself, but it amplifies every interaction we just talked about. In the next 2 minutes, I want to show you exactly what that means, because this single detail changes everything else. Most of the videos teaching clove water tell you the same recipe. Boil 2 cups of water hard. Drop in 4 to 5 whole cloves. Simmer for 15-20 minutes. Drink 1 tall mug right before bed. That recipe has 3 problems for someone over 60. First, the boiling. A long, hard boil drives off some of the gentler, volatile oils, but it concentrates eugenol and tannins from the clove itself. The longer it sits in hot water, the stronger the dose. 4 to 5 cloves simmered for 20 minutes can deliver more eugenol than your body actually needed to feel it. Second, the timing. Right before bed is the worst window for someone on prescriptions. Your liver is already starting its overnight processing. Adding a concentrated infusion of bioactive compounds at that moment is like asking a tired worker to take on a second shift. You give the body something to do when it should be resting. Third, the dose. 2 cloves is not a magic number, but it's a starting number. Older adults metabolize compounds more slowly. What a 40-year-old's liver clears in 2 hours might take 5 in a body that has been working for 65 years. The gentler way, if you choose to try it. 1 or 2 whole cloves. Hot water not boiling off the heat. Steep, 10 minutes. Strain. Drink it earlier in the evening with a meal not on an empty stomach right before sleep. 2 or 3 times a week, not nightly. Watch how you feel for 2 weeks before changing anything. That's the difference between a tea you enjoy with dinner and a daily dose of something your body has to work through while it should be sleeping. Now, the answer isn't one rule for everyone. Let me walk you through 4 situations where it changes. First, if you are over 70, or if you have lost weight or strength in the last year, your body composition has shifted. The same dose that did nothing at 62 can feel different at 74. Start with 1 clove, not 2, 3 times a week at most, and take it earlier in the evening, not later. Second, if you take any medication that thins the blood. That includes warfarin, what some of you may know as Coumadin. It includes aspirin, even the 81 milligram daily dose. It includes clopidogrel, sometimes called Plavix. And it includes the newer drugs like apixaban and rivaroxaban. For all of these, the safe answer is to talk to your doctor before adding any clove preparation more than what's already on your dinner plate. The interaction isn't always dramatic, it is real. Third, if you take a medication for blood pressure. Anything that ends in pril, like lisinopril or enalapril. Anything that ends in sartan, like losartan or valsartan. Calcium channel blockers, like amlodipine. Diuretics, like hydrochlorothiazide. All of these relax vessels or move fluid in ways the eugenol may add to. The simple step is to separate your clove water from your medication by at least 2 hours and to check your blood pressure standing up for a few mornings after you start. Fourth, if you have acid reflux, an ulcer, or sensitive digestion. Eugenol is mildly irritating to some stomachs, especially on an empty one. If you feel any burning, stop. Not reduce, stop. There are gentler herbs for digestion, and we can talk about those in another video. And one more that I think is worth knowing about, because it tends to slip through the cracks. If you have any kind of surgery or dental procedure coming up in the next 2 weeks, even something as small as a tooth extraction or a colonoscopy, stop the clove water at least 10 to 14 days before. Tell your surgeon and your anesthesiologist about it, the same way you would tell them about a daily aspirin. The platelet effect we talked about earlier matters a great deal more during a procedure than it does at any other time. These 5 matter more than the recipe. The recipe is small. The body you bring to the recipe is everything. If you've listened this far and still want to try it carefully, the simple version is straightforward. 1 or 2 whole cloves, a cup of hot, not boiling water. Steep, 10 minutes. Strain. Drink with or after dinner, not at bedtime. Twice a week to start. And tell your doctor at your next visit. That's it. That's the entire instruction. Honestly, that's the same advice that holds true for almost every natural remedy you'll hear about online. Simple, modest, told to your doctor. In a moment, the part of this video most channels skip entirely. I want to say something honest with you before we close. Clove water is not the answer to everything, and I won't pretend it is. Some people will feel a little easier in their digestion. Some will feel slightly steadier sleep. Many will feel nothing at all. That doesn't mean cloves don't work. It means cloves are a small input. And small inputs sometimes give small or quiet results. If your blood pressure is uncontrolled, clove water will not control it. If you have diabetes, it will not replace your medication. If you are not sleeping because of grief or stress or pain you haven't talked about with anyone, a tea will not solve that. There are better conversations waiting for you, and they're with a person, not a kettle. If you've made it this far, thank you. I know this wasn't the sparkling promise most videos sell, but I think you came here because you wanted the truth and not the show. I'd love to know in the comments, have you tried clove water already? Did you tell your doctor when you did? What did they say? Those answers help other folks watching this just as much as anything I said today. If this was useful, hit subscribe. There's a video on screen now about 3 kitchen spices that interact with common heart medications. Different topic, same honesty. Take care of yourself, my friend. I'll see you in the next one.